Okay, Mythic Lightblinded Vanguard. This is going to be the first really challenging boss we're going to face this tier, the first real wall. We're expecting some nerfs to the Dispels coming hopefully soon. We're running 6 healers, 2 warlocks to handle the 8 Dispels. We currently only have 1 Mistweaver Monk, so we are only going to have 2 out of the 3 required revivals. Hopefully we can figure it out. Pop-Tart Corn Dog killed with 1 Mistweaver, so I've got some plans around how they handled those sections of the fight with only 1 revival. Anyways, let's get into it. Biggest thing that we need to talk about at the beginning is the Dispels. Like I said, 6 healers, 2 warlocks. That's 8 total Dispels. Anyone who is doing a Dispel, those players, and any dwarf racial havers need to have the Weak Aura fork installed and the Weak Aura added to their Weak Aura folder. You can give it a test. We're going to test out in raid. I'm sure it's not going to work perfectly because it's a weak aura and that's how it always goes. But you need to make sure you at least set that up prior to raid. In terms of how the actual fight works, we'll start at the beginning. A lot of the fight movement revolves around the tanks and the evokers. So the tanks are going to have assigned times when they're pulling the boss out. It's going to be me every time except the very start. And it just is going to be based on how the taunt swaps work. Herbz is going to be taking a lot of 3-hit combos because he can spell reflect the finisher. So I'll only be taking like one of the judgments or one of the finishers, and he'll be taking the rest with shield wall and spell reflect. I have it all noted out. We can talk about it at the end for anyone who's watching this that isn't an Ohno raider that wants to know how the tank situation is going to work. But anyways, we're all stacked up at the middle. The first thing that's going to happen for the raid is an Avenging Shield cast. If you get targeted by Avenging Shield, you are moving out of the raid. Everyone else should be stacked on the boss. And then you're getting insta-dispelled by the people who have the weak aura. After that, Evokers, specifically Aug Evokers, DZ and Pete, you guys are going to always be baiting the charge. So whenever Lolup is calling for the charge that's going to happen in like 5 seconds, you guys need to be standing in position for the charge. It's going to be a different spot every time, so it's going to take you guys some time to learn. But the first charge, you're just kind of charging it a little bit a ways along the edge of the aura, giving us some space. Obviously, it's basically exactly what I put in this picture. This charge hurts, especially with all the other raid mechanics happening. If she hits anyone along her path or you at the end, it hurts. So there should be no one between the Evokers and the Holy Priest, Sin, like ever, when this charge is happening. And when you see her mount up and start running, Evokers, you guys can move out of the way so you don't get hit at the end. But I think it only is one person that really baits it, but I want both of you guys doing it the whole time, just so we have some redundancy, and you guys are pretty mobile. We can have hunters helping too if they want, but for now it's just both evokers going to be doing the baiting on every charge. So after this charge, we get into the first aura mechanic where she's doing the mythic change of the fight. On mythic, every single aura is 2 mechanics. On heroic, anytime the Prot Paladin was doing her aura, it was the shields, the flying shields that she threw that you had to dodge. On Mythic, it's Flying Shield plus the Heal Absorb, which is what is normally cast by the Holy Paladin. So the way we're handling this is we're kind of all stacked up on a little bit of ways from the aura, and 4 of our healers are going to be sitting on the edge of this aura inside their F-Flow and spam healing themselves. So there's 5 total absorbs that go out per tick, and it's 3 sets. So we're also going to have our 2 Devour DHs rotate. So one of them, let's say Farch, is going to take a stack, and then he's going to move in. Rat Balls is going to take a stack, move in. Farch is going to come take another stack, move in. So our DPS Demon Hunters are alternating stacks, while our Mistweaver, Resto Druid, H-Pal, and Presvoker are sitting in this F-Flow right on the edge, just spam healing themselves to get this absorb off them. And that's how we're handling it every single time it happens. So on the second Judgment cast, this is the first time the 3/4 combo is happening on the Prot Warrior. He's spell reflecting the first combo from Bellamy, the Prot Paladin. as she runs in, she's running in, casting this judgment at the same time. So you're spell reflecting that tank combo. And then I am going to taunt the Ret Paladin after the judgment cast, or during the judgment cast that's happening on the Prot Warrior. So he's taking the judgment and the finisher from the Prot Paladin and the judgment from the Ret Paladin. So you definitely want a big defensive. You're shield walling anytime you get this 3/4 combo happening. As soon as that finishes, we spread out for the first mass Avenging Shield, which is all 20 players are targeted by the Avenging Shield. I don't have like assigned spread positions because we have the whole arena to play with. So just don't clip anyone. Be liberal. Like, you don't have to be super close as long as you can collapse back in afterwards. As soon as it goes off, we're hitting revival and it's all getting cleared. And obviously, it would be the best if we could do this on every single time this happens, which is 3 times throughout the fight. But we can only do it twice because we have 1 Mistweaver. But this first one, we are revivaling. So just don't cleave anyone, and then it should be a non-issue. As soon as that starts casting, I am pulling the Ret Paladin that I just taunted off of Herbz out into the corner. And that's going to start the second aura mechanic. Whenever the Ret Paladin is doing his Aura of Wrath, we get Execution Sentence, which is what you expect from Heroic. And we get Flying Shields, which is the Prot Paladin mechanic. So we have our spread assignments. We're doing a square, but we're doing very far spread squares. This is basically going to make it so the middle of your soak is safe for the whole mechanic. No one else's hammers should be getting close enough to you where you're in danger of getting hit by them. So you're basically just chilling in your hammer spot until the hammers despawn. Unless there's some other mechanic we have to deal with, like ranged, you're kind of going to want to move in this way during the flying hammers and just try and dodge a bit because of the charge that comes afterwards. So, well, it actually doesn't happen here, but you do want to be wary of the fact that you're pretty far out and kind of like starting to move in. On this first execution, the Prot Warrior, as it's casting, is leaping to the range soak over here. You see how the Prot Warrior is here? With the Holy Paladin. The reason we're doing this is this charge is going to charge back into melee. So we want it's baited on the furthest player. So we want this baited on melee, so she'll charge back in. We have one of our Warlocks swapped with the Prot Paladin for this. And it's only on this very first execution sentence that this is an overlap. But Prot Warrior wants to be in this far one with the Holy Paladin. And then immediately after, she's going to mount up and charge into melee. So this line from this soak back to melee, super dangerous. You don't want to be in it. It's going to hurt because there's a lot of mechanics happening at the same time. The shields are happening. You could get hit by this and die. You could get hit by the charge and die. You could get hit by the tornadoes that are about to happen and die. Like, a lot of this fight is just dodging Paladin slop. Which there's just a lot of Paladin slop happening, and you're dodging it. If you're not actively like moving the bosses around or baiting the charges. So after this soak happens, like I said, she's going to get baited back into melee. She's going to charge back into melee, and there's going to be a big raid AoE hit, and that raid AoE hit is going to spawn these tornadoes. This is a new mythic mechanic as well. Whenever the Ret Paladin is empowered and he casts Divine Storm, he spawns a bunch of tornadoes that move in towards the boss. And we can see what that looks like.
Each watching flying shields.
Right here.
Okay. Close, don't go too far.
See these holy tornadoes that are moving in. And when these are casting and the Searing Radiance is about to end, is when the tank is moving to pull the Holy Paladin out as well. So now we have to deal with the Holy Paladin's aura, which is the final of the 3. This one has the heal absorbs that you would expect from Heroic. And it also has the execution sentence. So the way we're going to handle this is exactly the same as we said before, except we have the healers kind of spread out more here. But basically, Mistweaver is going to be playing close to the edge of this soak, taking stacks. Prez, H-Pal, R-Druid are going to be standing at the edge of this, taking stacks, and then the Demon Hunters are swapping again with stacks. One thing you have to think about with these execution sentences is it goes on 4 of your healers. So there could be a situation where, say, it doesn't go perfectly and your healer up here and your healer up here don't get it, but you get like 3 down here. So if you get that happening, you have to be ready to say, okay, the R Druid is always staying here. That's our assignment. R Druid is always staying here if he gets a circle, right? And then our Prez and our H-Pal are going to be the flex that can run to these other 2. And your healers out here just need to be vocal when they don't get an execution sentence. They need to call for a backup. And those healers need to swap. So let's say the Prez needs to go out here and the R Druid needs to come here so that we're still even in 5 people per soak. The R Druid is going to have to deal with the heal absorb here. At least a couple ticks. After the actual execution sentence goes off, if your healer feels comfortable, they can come back, run in, and help with those healing absorbs. But at least for like 1 or 2 ticks, your healer that had to come and fill the hole is going to have to take some of those stacks. So just keep that in mind. Anytime the execution sentence happens, you want a defensive. Echo was defensiving every single execution sentence that happened in the fight. It's one of the most dangerous instances of damage, especially because it overlaps with other mechanics so often. We definitely want to be using big defenses on the execution sentence. Another thing to keep in mind is every time there's an execution sentence, this is something I didn't talk about earlier, usually Avenging Shield is happening at the same time. We want to get our dispels. This is a big point in the fight where warlocks are going to have pets out of range, and they're not able to dispel because their imp is like over here or something and can't reach a dispel that they're supposed to get in this group, right? So warlocks, you have to be wary of your pet's movement throughout this fight. Not saying you have to like StarCraft it or whatever, but you could like keep it on passive if it's an issue so it's standing next to you. It doesn't do that much damage, it's not the end of the world. Or you can make sure you're microing it to move into the middle of these soaks every time they happen so you're ready to dispel. Right after this, we're going to have a marker that's placed between our 2 soaks. Our 2 range soak is going to be the purple marker. This is where the Augvokers are going to bait the next charge. She's going to charge straight from the aura out to the furthest player. So these Augvokers need to be the furthest from the boss, but we really don't want them to be very far because it can impact the tank movement significantly. We want them to be on this marker. So for that to happen, everyone else who's out here needs to be closer than this marker and also not along this travel path. So these guys need to move. These guys need to move in, and these guys need to move in after all the mechanics resolve and before the charge so that the Augvokers can properly bait the charge. Next, I'll be pulling out the Prot Paladin. The swaps are basically the same here. You do normal judgment swaps that you would do in heroic, and the BDK ends up with the Prot Paladin at the end of those because it's 2 judgment cycles that happen. So she cycles back to being on the Prot Paladin, or the BDK. And the BDK just pulls her out on the Avenging Shield cast after 2 judgments. And we go into aura number 4, which is aura 1 again. So this is going to be the healing absorbs and the divine toll shields. There's a big overlap here with Sacred Toll, where we're taking a lot of raid damage. So we really don't want our healers set up like this, where they're kind of outside the raid, hanging out on the edge of this aura. We want the whole raid to be stacked here. Basically like inside a darkness, inside an AMZ. We're using a lot of externals here to try and save the raid from the damage that's going on. And the healers are just going to be on the aura side of all of that AoE externals that's going on. The raid is going to be playing on this side of it, and the people taking the absorbs are playing on this side of it, including the Demon Hunters, not pictured here, but the Demon Hunters are still doing the same thing, but they're trying to take 1 stack, go back in, take another stack, go back in, you know. Now, there's going to be a charge bait when these shields are still going on. Like, it's right towards the end, so it's like the last 2 thrown shields. But the Augvokers need to be ready, and there needs to be a call made for the charge ahead of time, so they know to get out there. But we're just baiting this charge along the edge of the 4th aura, just out towards the wall, basically directly. Once that happens, we break the shield, and then we try and reposition back towards diamond, or even a little bit more towards the tip of this, towards the middle. I'm gonna be pulling out the Ret Paladin next, and then we got the same thing again with the avenging shields or the flying shields and the execution sentence. Same pattern. The affliction warlock is back in ranged. Prot warrior is back in melee. We're gonna have this set up for the rest of the fight, and we're just dodging and using defensives and living. That's all that matters. We're going to get another bait. I'm pretty sure it happens during the shields here as well. We're going to have a blue marker down. This is where the bait is going to happen, on the blue marker, after the execution sensitive shields. We just need to make sure that we're baiting in the right spot. Again, baiting in the right spot is very important so the tank can properly move the bosses and have enough time to get them to the edges that they need to get to. We got the tornadoes again that are happening on the Divine Stormcast. This is the same as before. I'm pulling out the Holy Paladin right as these tornadoes start spawning at the end of her Sacred Radiance cast. One thing to talk about Sacred Radiance on this fight is it does ramping damage on Mythic, so it starts not too hard, and I think it's like a 10 or 15 second long cast. Let me check real quick. Sacred Radiance. Or Searing Radiance. It starts at 103, ends at 118. So yeah, it's 15-second casts, and it ramps damage as it goes. So you want to make sure your healing CDs are more pushed towards the end of it, so you're actually catching the largest damage intake with the healing CDs. Now we have the same thing with the Holy Paladin, Execution Soaks and Heal Absorbs. We're handling it the same way as before. Not much is changing. Just, it's further in the fight. People probably have less resources. It's going to be a little bit more scary. Just be prepared. As soon as that finishes, she's going to charge out of the aura again at the Augvokers. They want to be sort of to the right, like in the gap between the ranged and the melee over here along the wall is where they want to bait the charge to, and then we're dragging the bosses on top of that after the charge, breaking the shield. Here we just kind of are chilling with some big raid damage in the judgment rotations. As soon as the judgment rotations are over, Prot Paladin gets pulled out, and this is basically the end of the fight. We have the Divine Toll healing absorbs that happen here again, or Divine Toll flying shields and healing absorbs that happen on this aura. This is probably going to be the hardest one because everyone's just completely out of resources. A lot of people can help here. It's like we don't just have the 4 healers along this edge and the 2 demon hunters. Like anyone who feels strong, feels healthy, has defensives can help here. Like we just need to get through it. If we get through this, the fight's over. This is the last mechanic of the fight. The Ret Paladin, we want the Ret Paladin to die as close to 635 as possible, but before 635. He has to be dead by 635, but we want to milk that. So if he's super low coming out of this aura, you can just tank him out of the group. Like over here, like on Echo's kill, he was like 2% running out of this aura, and we need him to live until as close to 635 as possible. This 635 timer is the last mass avenging shield where we're revivaling. If he dies before that, they're going to start getting a ramping damage amp. And that shield is going to hurt a lot. So we want him to die right before that mass avenging shield happens to minimize the amount of damage amp that the other 2 bosses are getting. And once he's dead, we're just handling the mechanics the same. The evokers are playing for a charge, like on the other side over here, while everyone else is kind of chilling right here. Like around here. There's going to be 2 charges that happen while we're just sitting here finishing off the bosses. So you just want to bait those a bit so no one dies there. And other than that, the bosses will die here, and that's the end of the fight. So I'm going to leave it there for everyone else. You guys can close out of the video. If you're interested in learning a little bit about the tank swaps that are occurring, I will start talking about that now. And you can see my write-up here on how the swaps are going to work. So I, being the Blood DK, am going to start with the Ret Paladin. Herbz, being the Prot Warrior, is going to start with the Prot Paladin. As at 21 seconds, Herbz is gonna leap to the door with the Prot Paladin while the judgment is going on. He's gonna spell reflect the finisher so that he takes no damage from it. And I am just gonna purg. If you're not a Blood DK and you don't have a cheat death, you just use defense, like big defenses, and you get externals from your healers, and I think you live. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure you just live with big externals and all your defensives. And if you don't, get B-res, I guess. I don't know. As soon as Herbz drops off the Prot Paladin for the aura cast, he's going to charge back in and AoE taunt both bosses so that I can recover from the purg. He's going to take the Prot Paladin Judgment combo with Spell Reflect and Shield Wall here. And I'm going to taunt the Ret Paladin after the Judgment. So this is the first 3/4 combo that I was talking about earlier. Herbz, as the Prot Warrior, is taking 3/4 of everything that goes on in the swap with Spell Reflect so that it doesn't one-shot him. And then as soon as I taunt after the Ret Paladin Judgment is when the Ret Paladin gets pulled out. As soon as the Ret Paladin starts casting Aura of Wrath, I'm running back in and taunting the Prot Paladin off of Herbz. And then this is when Herbz leaps to the other side of the range soak with the Holy Paladin, setting up the Holy Paladin for the charge. Back into melee. Herbz comes back after the soak is done and taunts the Prot Paladin, since I still have the Ret Paladin who's chilling inside the aura. And then Herbz takes the 3/4 combo again, spell reflecting the Prot Paladin and taunting off of me this time. So he's doing literally all the work here. He's spell reflecting the Prot Paladin that's sitting on him, and as the Ret Paladin comes in, judgments me, the Blood DK, and then taunts off during the judgment cast. And then I am taunting the Holy Paladin. This is where I am pulling the Holy Paladin out of the group right after the Searing Radiance finishes casting. I want to start running at about 3/4 in the cast bar because the time between Searing Radiance and her ending and her actually starting the aura is very small, so she needs to immediately start sprinting at you when this cast finishes, or she's not going to make it far enough. Just to give you an example of that, I think this is one of the more important things that occurs. I'll show you right here.
No.
You see, he starts running when Searing Radiance has like 3 seconds
3,
left.
2,
And as
1.
soon as Searing Radiance ends, she sprints at him.
Executes.
And she doesn't even make it all the way before she starts casting Aura of Peace. So you definitely need to be in position before she starts running at you. After this, I'm running back in and taunting the Prot Paladin instantly. We then do 2 normal judgment swaps, like heroic judgment swaps, where both tanks are taunting on the judgment cast because he's not going to have spell reflect back up. At the end of both of these judgment swaps, I will have the Prot Paladin again, and Herbz will have the Ret Paladin. And as soon as Herbz' taunt is off CD, off from the second judgment, he's taunting the Holy Paladin if he doesn't already have aggro on her. Because this is when I'm running out with the Prot Paladin. And I do not want the Holy Paladin on me when I'm doing this run out, or else it'll fuck over the DPS players. When the Prot Paladin runs back in, it's normal judgment swap again, and then I pull the Ret Paladin out of the raid when the raid-wide Avenging Shield cast occurs. When the Ret Paladin runs back in after his aura, this is the next 3/4 tank combo for Herbz. Spell reflecting the Prot Paladin, and then taunting the Ret Paladin off of me. I then instantly pull the Holy Paladin out after the 2 judgments happen, or after this combo, and I run in and taunt the Prot Paladin. Again, we do normal judgments, and then I run the Prot Paladin out, and that's the end of the fight.